price is what you pay, value is what you get. I love that quote because it says everything about this entire learning stream that we're going to talk about, which is how to create value. How to create value in your pricing strategy so you can get higher profits and higher margins, which is really important. The more value that you create, the higher your price can be, hence the higher your margins can be and more profit that actually flows to the bottom line. And that's a critical strategy that we're going to talk about through this entire learning stream. Now, understanding a little bit about what I want for you is I want to make sure that we get the ideal price for you, set the ideal price for the market so that you can have as many customers as you can possibly get, but also get all the benefit, all the hard work that you put into your product or service, you get all that value back to you as well, all right? Let me share with you one company that I work with called EcoSpire. And these are two entrepreneurs out of Colorado, and they have a business that basically is like a marketplace that brings together brands and resources all around the world for eco-friendly products like eco-friendly materials and fabrics and other things. So they work with resources around the world and bring those to brands that actually need fabrics and materials for eco-friendly, to build eco-friendly products. Now, what I did is that as we were working with them, I suggested to them, hey, how can we add value in this overall process, right? Because right now they're charging a matching service. Essentially, they match these two services together, and you have to subscribe to their marketplace, and it's about $1,000 a year for a brand to do that. What I suggested was, hey, why don't we add some education? Because this is kind of confusing for these brands to kind of figure all this out. Also, let's add maybe a 1 or 2 hours of consulting over the year where they get personalized service from you because you guys are experts. So on-demand education, which is actually very inexpensive to add to your overall product or service, and consulting hours added together brought their price from $1,000 a year to $5,000 a year. And it didn't cost hardly anything to add that extra service, but the value that the customer perceived was so much higher, and that's what we want to get to. I want to get you familiar with some of the things that impact your pricing strategy because we're going to use these throughout this entire lesson and you're going to use them throughout your entire business, right? So the first thing is like margins. We have to know our margins. We have to know what our product costs, how much we make on every product or each product or each unit that we generate or service that we provide. Very important. We have to understand our competition and what the range of pricing is out there for our competitive landscape. We have to understand our market as well. How about things like uniqueness? How unique is your product or service? How scarce is your product or service out there in the marketplace? The more scarce, the more you can charge, potentially, right? And also we need to look at what customers will spend. What are they willing to spend? What is the perceived value that they're actually going to get from that, which is really important overall to look at. So don't get too confused. There's going to be a lot of things that we're going to kind of throw into this mix of variables and influences that will influence your pricing strategy, but out will come an ideal price from it, I guarantee you. Pricing is like a megaphone that communicates many things to your customers. Now, so we got to keep in mind, what is it communicating? A lot of times it's communicating brand, quality, availability, demand, uniqueness. It's saying a lot of things about your product or service. There's a perception out there, and that's what I want to talk about is customers' perception as it relates to price. Customers have a perception, and you and I both have the same perception, that if it's higher priced, it's got to be better quality. Now, by the way, this is not always true, but when you start looking at your product or service, you'll start to find out ways that you can make it higher quality and charge a higher price and capture that extra margin that you should be getting for your product or service. And that's why you see things and prices starting to creep up, right, on different products and services out there. Let me give you an example of 2 grocery stores in my local neighborhood. And literally, these grocery stores are a half a mile away. One's called Safeway, which many of you might know. It's kind of your mass market grocery store. And the other one's called Molly Stone's. Molly Stone's is a local, they have 5 or 6 stores in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they're very high end, very high end. It gets crazy. What I find interesting about this example is that Molly Stone's sells about 80% of the same products, exact same products that Safeway sells, except they sell them for anywhere between 10, 20, or 30% more on the same exact products. And then in addition, they also add a great experience. They add a lot of things that Safeway doesn't add. So when you walk into the store, you have a salad bar, you had a wonderful prepared food section. They have great produce, great fruits and vegetables. They have specialty cheeses, fresh baked bread, and a great bakery. Now, so they have all of that. That's about the 20%. But the actual core of the store is the same as if I go into Safeway, right? But I'm going to pay a lot more for that. Why do people do that? Because it's perception. It's all about that customer perception. The Molly Stone brand, when I walk in, I'm getting convenience, I'm getting high quality, I'm getting prestige and status by shopping at Molly Stone's. That sounds crazy, I know, but people in this neighborhood, that means something too. They see their friends there, they're buying great products there, but they're willing to pay more for all that. And that store, by the way, is packed all the time. It kind of drives me crazy a little bit when I go in there and see all the high prices, but people will pay for it, and they're able to make a successful business out of it. As I said before, customers infer higher value when the price is higher. Let me give you an example. A pricey pair of shoes. It's just assumed that the price of those expensive shoes they're more well-made or they're more fashion-forward, right? You're going to pay extra for either one of those things. Instead of buying perfume over the counter, if they actually package it up in a pretty box, put a bow on it, all of a sudden, it's more expensive. Also, we love paying extra for convenience as well. Anything that's convenient, we'll typically pay more. As an example, a beer at a ball game or a concert is going to cost a lot more than at your local grocery store because it's the convenience factor that I can get a beer right there, maybe delivered to my seat while I'm watching the ball game, right? Bundled products, right? When I put products together, there's an inferred value that they're going to be more valuable when they're together than when they're apart. Just the fact that you're assembling the products and you've curated it and put it together in some way, it infers that there's more value. Example for that would be like Net-a-Porter and other companies that actually put outfits together for men, as an example, and they'll sell them all as an outfit. So I don't even have to think about if does the shirt go with the pants and the belt and all of that. They do it all for me. There's a higher value there, and they charge for it as well. So we'll also pay more for status. So for instance, special access to a concert where you're getting a backstage pass or you're getting a chance to meet your favorite artist, you'll pay more for that. Also, it just feels good when you're up close to the stage. You pay more for better seats, as an example as well. All of this kind of is inferred in how you build your pricing model. Give another example on United Airlines. I'm a frequent flyer, a very frequent flyer. So I have high status. And for that, it makes it really hard for me to fly anybody else but United Airlines because they treat me well. But also, it's that connection to status that I have, and everything gets taken care of for me, right? People will pay more for high margin, high value add-on products that are added onto the core product and create even more value there, right? So things like gift sets, or so when you're packaging them together, gift sets really work well. Or let's say that when you're buying a bike and you're buying a safety light, well, that safety light is super high margin that goes along with the bike, but people are willing to pay for it because they're already in the store, it's convenient, and it's recommended by the shop owner that says you really need this, right? And how about car add-ons? This is a great tool that the automotive industry uses to actually get more value out of the base car. So they sell you the base car, but then what they do is they'll add on these varying packages like the convenience package or the sports package. So let's say that I wanted a rear camera on my car. In fact, I have to buy the safety package, which includes 10 other features that I may or may not want, but that price of that safety package is like $3,500 or $4,000, and that's where the car company's actually making all their money. So as you can see, when you actually put all these things together, all these different examples together, as you start to look at the customer's perception for what they're getting, you can start to mold your pricing strategy to that customer perception. And that's one of the keys we're going to take a look at going forward. So I want to caution you, there are limits. There's only so much you can push price up until the value starts to go, the curve starts to go the other way. And the customers then start to get angry. They can get angry at you for charging too much and not actually getting the value, and then they're going to go away. That's not a good situation. Now, there are opportunities or times when you have urgency or that you have a special situation that are maybe exceptions to this rule of no limits. But generally speaking, there's a limit that people will hit where they say no more. Now, let me give you an example. If I want to buy a beer at a local bar, it might be, my limit might be like $10 or $12, and that's about all I'm going to spend for that beer. That's kind of my limit. However, put myself in a different situation. I'm at a concert in the desert. It's very, very hot, and there's only one beer or even any type of beverage distributor right there available to me. How much is that beer now worth? If I'm dying of thirst, it might be worth $20 or $25. But even there, unless I'm literally dying, there is a limit. I only spend so much money where that beer, the value of that beer just starts to dissipate. So I want you to keep that in mind as you start thinking about what your limits are as well. Let me give you another example. Dining out on New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day or some special event like brunch at Mother's Day. All of these situations are where restaurants actually jack up their price. But again, there are limits to where that meal that normally would cost maybe $25 or $30 on a normal day, all of a sudden might cost $150 on Valentine's Day or even $200 on New Year's. Now, they've got that price geared to where they're going to make it painful for you, but they're not going to push you over the edge. In some cases, they do push you over the edge, but those restaurants are always packed during those days. And again, it's supply and demand, special event, they can jack up the price for you. So again, there are still limits even at that level, but you've got to keep in mind all these different tolerances and take advantage of them as appropriate for your business. Your pricing strategies must be consistent with all the other strategies that are in your business plan and that you're executing in your business. And I call this internal consistency, where you're actually looking and everything is consistent throughout your business. And that's what we want. And what we want to avoid is internal inconsistency, where the strategy doesn't line up with the pricing strategy. So your other strategies, such as positioning strategy. Let's say that you have a premium product and then you're offering it for a low price. That's internally inconsistent. They don't match up. In the customer's mind, it doesn't match up. Why is this product so great quality and yet it's so cheap? And there's a big question mark over your offering there. And that's not what you want, as an example. Next strategy is branding. So I've got a high-end brand like Hermes, but it's on sale, it's on discount. Well, in fact, Hermes, just like the Four Seasons, never goes on sale. There's never a discount. In fact, Four Seasons actually charges the same price throughout the year, which is very interesting for a hotel. They're very unique in the way that they do that because there's never anything on sale. The only thing the Four Seasons will give you is maybe a night free if you stay 4 or 5 nights. That's their version of a sale because they want to make sure their branding is consistent throughout. Brilliant strategy. Competition. So you've got a lot of competition and your competition is charging in a certain range and all of a sudden your price is double or triple that. That's an internal inconsistency as well because nobody's going to buy you, especially when there's not a lot of differentiation. So you're going to need to think up a new strategy for that. And finally, target market. Target market where you've got a low-end demographic for a target market and you're trying to charge a high price. Again, that internal inconsistency exists. So I want to make sure that you check your pricing strategy against all your other strategies in your business plan to make sure they're consistent. Now let's take a look at what investors are looking for in your pricing strategy overall. So the first thing is it realistic? Is your pricing realistic? Does it make sense? Will customers actually pay what you're suggesting they're going to pay? In their brains, they're going to be actually processing on that. They're going to see if they would actually pay for that same product or service that you're offering as well. The second thing is, are you using the correct pricing model? Is the pricing model cost-based, value-based, or market-based consistent with the rest of the industry? And does it make sense? Also, they're going to look at feasibility. They really want to know whether or not your margins actually work. And this is the key thing. This is the number one thing they're going to look at is your direct margin. And in that direct margin, they're going to try to determine whether it's high margins, direct margins, or lower direct margins. Now, in the higher end of the direct margins, that's about 75% direct margin. If they see that or higher, they're going to love your business and they're going to love you, right? On the lower side of the margins, if you're lower than 40%, that's going to be considered a lower margin business. Now, this is going to vary from industry to industry, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But those are general rules in terms of what's considered higher margin and what's considered lower margin. Again, we're talking about direct margin. Then the next thing they're looking for is, can you sustain that price? Can you sustain those margins and that price over time? Because if you can and they think you're going to have a lot of pricing pressure in the future, they may back away a little bit or at least bring that up as a concern. And the final thing they're looking for is at scale, will your margins actually go up because you're going to be producing more, you're going to have a bigger business, and that's going to drive your costs down, hence your margins up. So they're going to look at that as well. So what all this does is actually, in their mind, in the investor's mind, create a profile. It creates kind of a pricing profile or pricing strategy profile as to whether or not your business works overall or not. Setting pricing is tricky. So entrepreneurs all the time, they're questioning themselves all the time, and they're going to ask these questions. Am I setting my price too low? If I'm setting my price too low, am I leaving money on the table? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm setting my price too high and nobody's going to buy my product or service. So we're all a little bit paranoid about pricing. So my best advice that I can give you is test, test, test. It is absolutely okay to test different pricing levels, and all the big companies do this. So don't actually worry about sending out a price out there and having to stick to it, because you can always change it. You can always adjust it. It's expected that you'll do it. So test your pricing. The other thing that I want to make sure that you do is I don't want you to guess at pricing. I want to make sure that your pricing is justified. I really hope you found this video valuable. Now, the best conversations start with you, so make sure that you leave a comment, a question, or maybe a takeaway that you got from watching this video. And you're not only going to help yourself, but other entrepreneurs as well. We're adding new videos all the time, so make sure you subscribe to our channel and get access to all this great content that will help you build your business. Oh yeah, make sure that you also share this video with a friend because they can benefit from it too. Be sure to visit entrepreneurnow.com to subscribe to our newsletter, Launch. Now, you'll get exclusive access to articles, free videos, interviews with world-class entrepreneurs, access to our live events, and insider tips that you can't get anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Entrepreneur Now TV. If you want help with making your business a huge success, then go to entrepreneurnow.com and learn from successful entrepreneurs that will take you step by step through the process of creating and growing your business. Whether you need help with things like a business or financial plan, your overall business strategy, tactical marketing and sales execution, or obtaining financing, we will be right there every step of the way to help you. Every entrepreneur I know benefits from having someone right there as they launch and grow their business. So we provide one-on-one and group mentoring to all our members. In addition, our members get access to on-demand videos, all our live events, financial planning tools, and a library of worksheets and resources at their fingertips. And the best part of all is you're part of a community of entrepreneurs that learn and inspire each other. So now is the time for you to take action. Go to entrepreneurnow.com and join us today. So what's a target market anyway? Essentially, it's just a group of customers with a certain profile that are ideal for your products or service. Jeff Bezos, in the early days of Amazon, said, I need to be the best at delivering, and that's going to be my unique competitive advantage. It's really hard to compete with Amazon, and it's all about the delivery.